All right, welcome back to Technique WOD. I'm Doug Larson with the Barbell Shrugged podcast. This is video number 2 of the squat series. Video number 1 was an overview video. We talked about air squatting, goblet squatting, and a little bit about learning how to squat off of a box with Gray Cook's reverse patterning concept, which I think is super cool. So if you're looking for the basics of squatting, definitely check out the overview video. We'll touch on a few of those things again in this video. Obviously, since we're talking about front squatting, a lot of the concepts as far as squatting down are the same. Really just your hand position is changing and the distribution of the load is changing a little bit, so it alters your mechanics slightly, but really it's all kind of the same thing. So check out the overview video, video number 1. Today we're talking about front squatting. First thing that you need to know if you're trying to front squat is how wide to grab on the bar. What I like to do to start with is just put your hands right out in front of you. You're doing the zombie thing, and then see basically where you grab. So from here, I usually tell people to put 3 fingers, maybe even 2 fingers, depending on how mobile their wrists are and their shoulders are. I put the pads of my fingers only, so I'm not grabbing like this, just the pads right underneath where your nails would be, right there. And I step forward, I put it on my, like right above my collarbones, right on my neck, and then again with just the pads of my fingers on the bar, I'm going to rotate up and I'm going to put my elbows forward as far as I can. I'm going to step forward. From here again, elbows as high as I can, and then I'm going to let go like this. And this is the shelf the bar is going to sit on. You don't need your hands to front squat. So I like to teach the zombie squat like this first. That way you can see if someone's really able to get all the way down with good technique and they're not compensating by bending over and the bar's tearing up their wrists. Okay, so start with the zombie squat. When you're teaching the front squat, from here I should be able to go all the way down just like this, and the bar doesn't roll forward. It's very correct if you get instant feedback if you roll forward, because the bar will obviously roll off of you. I don't know what you're talking about. All right, so zombie squat first. Again, pads of the fingers, usually right in front of your shoulders. You don't need to have your hands way out here. There's a time and place where some weightlifters like to have their hands super wide, like when they're going to jerk. But for the most part, right out in front of you is going to be the easiest place to start. Then you can ratchet your hands out over time. Okay? So 2 fingers, pads, walk forward, put it against your neck, elbows as high as possible. And then I'll teach the rest of the front squat technique from this zombie squat position. So my elbows need to be at least as high as the bar. Okay, maybe even a little bit above the bar. That's ideal. From there, again, just like a regular squat, feet shoulder width apart. I can toe out a tiny bit, weight on my heels. My butt's not going to go as far back as it would on an air squat or a back squat. I'm going to have to stay pretty vertical. My knees are going to go out, staying on my heels. And then at the bottom, I'm still pretty vertical. My back is not rounding. I have a very vertical torso. My knees are wide over my feet. They're not diving together. My hands are high. My knees are not in. They're out. Weights on my heels. Good posture. And then I stay vertical and I drive through my heels on the way up. Okay? This is different from a back squat. That's different than a more traditional powerlifting style back squat. A high bar Olympic squat's a little bit different. We'll touch on that on the back squat video. But with a front squat from the side, I'm going to be pretty vertical. I'm not going to go butt back when I front squat, because when I go butt back and I bend forward, my elbows go down. When my elbows go down, now all the weight is forcing my wrist into hyperextension. That's how people get super achy wrists, because their elbows are always down, especially if they're grabbing the bar. You see that all the time where people grab the bar first, then they go like this, and their elbows are down, and then they try to squat like that, okay? And then they do a bunch of thrusters like that, and their wrists end up understandably pretty damn achy. So you never want to start like that with your hands all the way closed. There's a time and a place for that. If you have really good mobility, really good front squatting, you can front squat with your hands closed. But most people probably can't when they're first starting out. That's why I like to start with just 2 fingers, pads only. And then as I rotate through, my fingers are straight and just the pads of my fingers, like I would take a fingerprint with, are on the bar, just like that, elbows all the way in front of me. Okay? So that's the basics as far as how to get into a good position. You can come here, and then if you really can't, if you're always doing this and you really can't correct that, and you even have problems with the zombie squat, some people just can't do it. They go like this and like they don't have any shoulder muscles and they just always lose it. I will let people do this sometimes. I do this myself sometimes if I have achy elbows. Actually, I get front squatter's elbows, what I call it. You can do kind of the bodybuilding style grip. There's nothing necessarily wrong with it, but I'd say it's not ideal, because if you're going to catch cleans and whatnot and do thrusters in CrossFit, it's better just to be able to practice here instead of being like this. But there's still nothing necessarily wrong with it. You'll still get strong legs, you know, and strong total body strength from squatting just like this. All the mechanics of your lower half are more or less the same. So you can do that. The other thing you can do if you really can't do a regular kind of rack front squat grip is you can tie a strap or two. Just use like a strap you'd use to pull extra weight off the bar. Use a strap tied around, and then you can just hold the strap like that, and then it makes it where you can still be here, where you're externally rotated and your elbows are high, and you're not fully internally rotated like this, which I feel like helps this position, kind of destabilizes your scapula just a little bit compared to being here. You're a little more stable because your arms are fully externally rotated. It's easier to get your shoulder blades a little more together where they're not rolling forward and whatnot. So having a strap is an option. I didn't even think to grab straps before this video. All right, so a second ago I really didn't think to grab straps because I wasn't going to talk about them, but I tied some bands on here. It doesn't really matter what it is necessarily. Just grab these bands. You can just come forward, come up like this, and then you can front squat like this. And there's, again, nothing necessarily wrong with that. A lot of power lifters do this because they won't necessarily have the mobility if they're really big guys, or they spent 15 years trying to bench 600 pounds. Then it's hard to front squat in that case for a lot of people. So having a strap makes it really easy, where you can be in basically the same position, but instead of your fingers reaching the bar, the strap's reaching the bar for you. So that's a great option.
Real quick for the folks, since you've been unracking it like that, do you want to?
Oh yeah.
You want to tell them that you were doing that for the videos, so everyone's not an asshole at their gym?
Yeah. You're going?
Yeah.
All right, CTP had a good point about how not to be an asshole at your gym. For the video, I was here and I was walking the weight out this way and then squatting. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but for the most part, you're not going to be doing that. You're usually going to be facing into the rack. You'll walk backwards when you're fresh, and then you'll do a bunch of reps, and then when you're tired, you'll come in and you'll rack the weight. I usually go all the way in and then down. That way you don't go halfway in and then miss it and drop it, which there's nothing wrong with dropping a bar. Drop it on the ground, no big deal. But if you miss the clip and you don't expect it to fall into you, especially only half the weight, it's probably going to hurt. And then if you don't have clips on, the weights are going to slide off, and then the bar's going to swing over and it's going to crack someone in the head and they're going to die. So you don't want to do that. The other thing that we didn't talk about, in fact, let me put on a plate real quick. All right, last quick thing, we're going to talk about missing lifts and spotting. There's actually nobody else here, so I can't really demo spotting for you, but what you can do is, since front squats are a relatively safe thing to do when you're getting tired, you can just squat down, and when I'm here, it's easy. I just drop the weight on the ground. It's no big deal. If I have, I don't want to demo spotting. Okay, well, I was going to talk about spotting, but there's no one else here, so I can't really demo it for you. What we just decided we're going to do is we're going to do an entire video dedicated to spotting for the front squat, back squat, and overhead squat, which, top secret, you don't spot the overhead squat. So we'll talk about that in a different video. If you have any questions about squatting or anything else, or you want to check out any of our other videos, you can go to barbellshrugged.com. Click on the episodes tab at the top of the page. Click on Technique WOD. You can check out all the videos in the library. I'll see you on video number 3 for back squats.